All right, welcome back to Only Divergences. We're just going to take a look at Robinhood today, do a little update to look at potential, what's going on, and what I see for the coming week, what happened this past week. Interesting little move that I pointed out. And let's see if what I'm really looking for can materialize. So first we're going to start off with the weekly time frame, and I want to do this even though there's only, uh, 8 candles on the weekly. I want to do this to provide some sort of context and perspective, right? So we have a situation like this. Um, what is the real material downside potential, right? Could we imagine a nice big red candle here coming down? I think that it's possible. You always have to respect the real probability and potential for anything to happen in this market. And so there is a potential that it comes down, but it wouldn't be too much. And I don't think that we have a really big red candle. So that's really the limits of the downside that I'm looking at right now. One thing that I do want to say here with regards to this is think about it like this. If you were a money manager, would you be initiating a short position here? Wouldn't it have been a lot better to initiate a short position, I don't know, here, 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 here? I think that's where you want to go short. Here is not where you are thinking this is an absolute prime place to initiate a short position. So that tells me that there might be limited downside. Also, if you bought and have held all through, let me just pull up the daily here. If you bought and you held through all this and all this and all this, especially when it was down here, at 40 and now it's at 42, why would you start selling now, right? If you held, then you've already made up your decision that you're probably going to continue to hold. And so this is where we start to see momentum shifting. So that's the argument against material lower prices, but we have to talk about potential for higher prices, right? So, could we see a big green candle next week? I think that's possible. We have to talk about the realm of possibility. What is not possible is, I would say, or not possible. Everything is possible, but what is only within the realm of 1% possibility is a nice big fat green candle that goes up to like 80, let's say, right? I don't think that we have the setup for that. I think there's potential setup for some upside. I think 50, if we get the right move, 50 is not a crazy idea in a week. And so if you're buying the stock, that's 20% gain. But, if you're doing options, that might be a 20 times gain. So that's really what we're looking for. I'm looking for the really bigger move. And I think that there might be a big-ish move with Robinhood in the coming weeks. So that's what I'm looking at, and we're going to take a deeper look here. So that was the weekly chart. On the daily chart, really not much more to add to that other than the fact that we have the MACD here coming down. Here, in fact, I'm going to just add the RSI quickly. So I want to see something. Okay, so you can't see anything there. So I'm going to remove the RSI, but on the MACD, we're now below the midline. The negative histogram is kind of getting smaller. It's kind of trying to come around. So the momentum is shifting a little bit. I mean, you can see the momentum shifting on the daily chart, but with objective markers like the MACD, you can see this is shifting. So what we want really is an end to this negative histogram, this red negative histogram, which means that the negative momentum is finished and the stock is ready to move higher. And I think that once we get that shaping up, we should be preparing ourselves for, what could be a 20-30% move, right? I think that this stock came into the public, it got a lot of attention, had a nice big move, it came down here, and it's one of those stocks that has the potential, because you can't price it. These are all these COVID growth stocks, you can't price them accurately, and so they're just trading based on technicals and fear and greed and all that. So I think that there's potential here. So that's the daily. If we take a look at the hourly, so what happened here? Well, we had a bullish divergence. We had a low here, you can see on the MACD, and then we had another low where price was lower, but momentum was higher. So that signals a change in divergence. Now, what I was uncomfortable with is the fact that we didn't have a big, opening here, negative histogram when we were down here. So this tells me that this isn't as strong of a bullish divergence as you would want, right? And that's what happened. While the stock did go from 39.20 to 42.40 in 3-4 days, it's not that big of a move. Options did very well. If you caught it right at the bottom here and sold around here, I think that the return was somewhere around 5 times. But look at all this volatility that you have to live through. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in nice, strong unidirectional moves, right? So I think that, and another thing that I want to point out here is that you can see that there was no expansion of the ATR. This ATR indicator is just fantastic, and I think that it's been coming down, which means price has been compressing. And what's going to happen, I see, is that sometime in the future we're going to get a price expansion, right? Price will compress, and then price will expand. And given what's been happening with this kind of slow come down and a bit of a shift in momentum, I would argue that price expansion is going to happen to the upside, right? We're not going to have an expansion to the downside. We're going to have an expansion to the upside. And so as price continues to compress, what I'm looking for is the right technical setup that will allow all this built up negative energy to release to the upside. And when we have that, that's going to be a relatively big move. I can see it going into the 50s. And I think that it will happen quickly because when you release the energy, it has to release all at once. And so we should have a very strong positive day. And I think that if we do that, then we could have a very big move. But it's not here yet, because if we take a look at the hourly, we can see that the MACD is in positive territory. It's pinching, as I like to call it, which means this positive histogram is coming down, but it's not flipped over. What we want is this negative histogram here. I don't think we're going to get it. So we have to use the more sensitive indicator, which is the DMI here. We want elevated green, but we want at least falling red, because sometimes you do have instances where you do consolidate and then you explode higher like this, and you never really have that strong elevated green, which gives you the signal to move higher. You just have a falling red, right? So typically when you have red elevated like this for a long period of time, you go back in history, this is the last time that this has happened. Okay, we'll go up. What happened after that? The stock fell, right? So that's why I'm not looking at this here and saying from a probabilistic perspective, I need to get in because I think that the stock is going to explode higher on Monday. I don't think it's going to do that. If it does, it's fine. I analyze it, go back to the drawing board and look at things from a probabilistic perspective. But right now, what I think is that we do need a little bit more consolidation, right? And what I'm looking for is when this will explode. I think it needs to get tighter and tighter and tighter, but we're getting really tight. And we need to be careful, because once we get to that point, there's not much that the stock's going to be able to do, except it's going to have to release, right? Because price is just getting so tight. So what you want is some sort of a setup. I would prefer a nice divergence setup. We don't have that here. We have elevated red. I don't want to buy here. I've seen instances where MACD has been like this, and yet it still flips to the upside, right? Like it moves higher. I'm not comfortable with that. I want MACD to come down here, at least to the midline, and then form a divergence here, and then it's free to go. In fact, I would prefer if it came a little lower here. That would be my ideal scenario. What I'm saying is that if we get price come down here once more, and like just consolidate here for a little bit, then we start to form something nice and we move higher. That's what I'd be really interested in. I would be very, very happy and confident and comfortable taking a very good position if Robinhood was able to come down, consolidate, gather its forces, and then move. So that looks like the beginning of October, somewhere there. It's possible. That's what I would be more comfortable with right now. We're looking at a bullish divergence, which didn't play out too well. It did play out, but it was just sloppy and weak and volatile here. You want it to move in one direction, not all this back and forth, right? And now we have elevated red, although the red has dipped down recently, but we still have low black. We've got the MACD. Looks like I don't want to say it's rolling over, but it's in a less favorable position for an upside move than it has been before. So this is just a quick update on Robinhood. I didn't go in long last week here, even though I saw there was potential for this divergence. It didn't look too clean. What I'm hoping is that we can pull down here, consolidate a little bit more, form that nice base, form a nice clear divergence, get this ATR a little tight, and then have a nice release. And that's what I'm looking for. But the market doesn't always give you what you want. If it gives it to me, that's fine. I'm gonna run with it. But if not, as I said, I'm gonna be uploading a lot of videos this weekend. Hopefully another one tonight, because there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I think that we're entering into a period of a little bit more elevated volatility. I don't think it's gonna be, obviously I don't think it's gonna be like COVID, but I think that the markets are trying to digest some stuff here. And so there might be opportunities, is all I'm saying. And those opportunities might be huge, but we have to be very aware of our biases and understand that the market is an objective game. All right, so thanks for watching. Remember to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Take care.